G'day, welcome to our lecture on eSports, the competitive and professional play of computer games. And I hope that at least one of you is aspiring, or at least once aspired, to be paid to play video games. Before you knew, of course, that my job existed and one could play video games and be paid to do so that way. So eSports is the competitive play of games within a formal organizational structure. It's a spectator sport where the spectators are typically players themselves. Esport organizations include the Electronic Sports League, Major League Gaming, and game developers also contribute to building and managing a game's esports infrastructure, right? Blizzard, who make Hearthstone, and Riot, who make League of Legends, they run the tournament, many of the tournaments for this game, right? There is a relationship between the community of esports and the community of games, in such that the people who create these games recognize the value that community of esports creates for the game and the game property, and how it drives play and players to the game. So it's a big part of the success of many popular games, and consequently has driven the development of many games to be more open to esportification. And these tournaments are pretty big. This table is from a report that we did back in 2018 on some of the size of some of these tournaments. IEM Sydney in 2017 had 8 million concurrent viewers and claims to have had 30 million unique viewers. The International in 2016 typically only displays its peak concurrent viewers, being as high as 2017, this is the main Dota 2 tournament, as high as nearly 11 million peak concurrent viewers in 2017, claiming in 2016 that there was 142 million unique viewers, right? The scale of some of these esports tournaments is just enormous. And the first Fortnite World Cup had a prize pool of like $100 million, right? This huge amount of money involved, a huge number of people watching these. The League of Legends World Championship had over 100 million unique views. So we've got a really big, this is big business in terms of the money involved, but it's also the scale of esports is also really quite intimidating, particularly in comparison to many other regional sports. These are kind of piddly numbers for things like soccer, but for something like AFL, this is pretty intimidating figures to look at. And this is also something that is growing year on year quite rapidly, where people who and the amount of money that they're spending, similarly seeing kind of more than 10% growth each year. The revenue streams for the esports industry typically come from sponsorship, less so from media rights, merchandise and tickets, digital and streaming. But the estimate still is that esports are a $1 billion business globally. I used to think that was a lot, but I don't think it is really. There's a lot of things that are worth $1 billion these days. Still, big business, growing every year, with prize pools that make one wish they were good at video games. The 2019 World Cup, didn't have 100 million, had a $30.4 million prize pool. The solo winner, Bugger, aimed age 16, earned $3 million in winning the final match. So how do we make sense of esports? What are the critical issues around esports to help us understand it further? And what is driving the interest and money in professional play? So esports is a form of labor, playing for significant sums of money. Players train to play in highly efficient and formalized ways. Mackenzie Walk concluded in 2007 that play is no longer a counter to work. Play becomes work. Work becomes play. The utopian dream of liberating play from the game, of a pure play beyond the game, merely opened the way of the extension of the game space into every aspect of everyday life. Teams often live and train together in team houses to develop the intercorporeal, team-wide ability and synergy with coaches, psychologists, analysts, and the heavy use of statistical data to prepare against opponents. In one of the required readings, Ben Eggleston and I discussed Nick Taylor's discussion of audiencing, particularly LANs, and the various rituals and practices at the esport tournament spectator. There are many different affordances of broadcasting platforms that give novel forms of agency to digitally mediated audiences. further enmeshing players and spectators into a singular, hybridized, communicative context. So there's lots of different ways to understand why esports are appealing. As a social event, as part of the culture of video games, right? How do we know what is and isn't cool in video games? As a form of vicarious play, you might not have access to the game and you might not be any good, and watching other people be really good at the game can be a vicarious way to experience play. But what I'm going to unpack is esports as the spectacle of mastery and virtuosity. The games that are popular as esports are often hard and played with incredible precision. The original esport games, StarCraft, Counter-Strike, Quake, Unreal Tournament, and Super Smash Bros. Are those that are incredible, that have an extremely high skill ceiling. The ones that are popular now, multiplayer battle arenas like League of Legends and Dota, first-person shooters like CSGO and Fortnite, and fighting games like Street Fighter and Super Smash Bros. Mirror and have built on these foundations of a very high skill ceiling to be played with incredible precision and win a team game with incredible synergy between teams. Games like Street Fighter V, for instance, when played competitively, require the ability to execute what are called frame-perfect maneuvers. The game runs at 60 frames per second, and being frame-perfect means hitting a single frame lasting 1/60th of a second. As Ash writes, as this allows players to link abilities together more efficiently and essentially create extra time when they're playing. Right? If you are able to be frame perfect, you can do things that seem beyond what a player should be able to do. Which brings me to the greatest moment in the esports history. Evo Moment 37.
Rare footage of Daigo actually angry. Justin's turtle style. Overcome Rao. Now on the verge of putting Daigo down 1-0.
So, don't worry if you had no idea what just happened. If Diego, who was playing as Ken, had tried to block... Basically, Diego had no health left, like 1 bar of health. And if he had tried to block any of Wong's attacks, the game would have been over. Simply because even when blocking, you take a small amount of damage. A parry, on the other hand, takes no damage, but does require the player to move towards the opponent's direction at the same time. Parry, 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 right? This precise timing, within 4 of 30 frames of the impact animation, to be exact, makes it a Hail Mary option. But that was the only option that Diego had. He timed it so perfectly and parried kick after kick, 15 in all, almost frame-perfect actions, before transitioning into a powerful attacking combo that knocked Chun-Li out to complete the greatest comeback in competitive gaming history. The crowd that had been pulling for Wong quickly changed allegiances, seeing this absolute spectacle of mastery, giving Diego a deafening standing ovation after seeing what would become known as the Diego parry. Let's watch it again.
Footage of Daigo actually angry. Justin's turtle style. Overcome Rao. Now on the verge of putting Daigo down 1-0. Unbelievable. Daigo with a
High-level esport players possess adeptness and naturalness with which they integrate detailed technical facility into their embodied action and cognition. Esports is about spectating this trained and attuned body, a mastery over human and non-human systems, and interplay between the body and the screen technologies. And we can see this also in how virtuosic play is represented in the esports broadcast. Right. In this example, we see how the camera trains not just on the content of the screen, but on the micro movements of the player's hand, representing the kind of number of actions per minute, a metric used to kind of rate and measure players' competencies in the games. How many actions can you complete while playing, and how quickly can you do so? That is, how efficiently can you be operating the game? Seriously, some of these players are hitting 200 actions per minute while playing. And that's what is demanded of high-level competitive play of something like esports. In this next example, we see the camera trained on the almost musical interactions with the Street Fighter control pad. Broadcast esports is now a multi-billion-dollar industry, and production companies and game developers play a very active role in producing esports content to keep people watching. And this manifests in two ways. Firstly, patching games around spectator-friendly content, but also controlling the way that esports content is disseminated and broadcast to make esports content visible and legible. In Dota 2, for instance, the developer Valve has taken a role in balancing the game in order to ensure that games aren't too one-sided, aren't too drawn out, or hinged around cheesy strategies, a term used to refer to strategies that are within the bounds of the game but seem cheap or not in line with what players might consider virtuosity. Esport titles often include rubber banding or comeback mechanisms to make sure that esport games are less one-sided. It can't be clear from the start how who's winning, like who's going to win at the end, right? There's always got to be an opportunity for the players to get back in. But in the longer games go, the quicker they can end. The game-winning conditions can be fulfilled faster due to more powerful abilities, bringing the game towards a quick resolution once dominance has clearly been established. Very similar to the principles of Marc LeBlanc's MDA framework that we analysed earlier in semester. In the broadcast of esports, the unfolding of games is narrated and analysed by casters or commentators who weave a coherent narrative of gameplay in real time for spectators. Expertise is made legible by these casters. They underline the nuances of play and situate it within a narrative of how the game is going. So let's watch some esports.
There's your blink from Link, calling them straight away. There's going to be a lot of burst damage onto Axe. It keeps himself up, but Spyback straight away, and it looks like the fight is going to continue. What's going to happen now? There's your overgrowth. FNG, he's found Jonathan Fan. That's two down. Hasken, he's turned into a pig. Standard C-Dot, crucial. He's getting low. Can they do this? Oh, there's the right-click damage. Lim is hexed up. They get caught out. Now the urine coming through. The Phoenix, can they do it? 2 heroes down and NRP, they don't have buyback. It's not looking good for the dark side. Error, he's turned into a wall trying to fight up against G. So G pops the cheese. Now he's going to hit against the pig, who's got back to base. I think this is Mega Cream to Lysander. I think this is GG. Well played. The game is over. NRP, they lose.
Who is he going to kill?
Oh, this is it. Can he do it? Here you go. Here you go.
Oh my god. Oh god.
Looked very dominant for the majority of the mid-game. Slander charges in, bursted down by the Laguna Blade. He's down for 70 seconds. He's got no buyback. Burning United, they take the tier 4s. They're on the H now. Paris is going to get taken down. Kazenix, clear these guys up. BKB pop by minus. He's got the black hole. It's going to be a 3-man black hole. BL and Vic, they go for the objectives. Buyback for Spirit Breaker. It's not going to be enough. Burning United take the first game. Oh man, they kept us on the edge of our seats. They did it. From the top lane, a lot of heroes groups, so they're going to go in on silent. Death Ward gets popped down. BKB pops, and he just walks out of it all. Silence says, hang on, guys, I'm going to walk this one off. Clogs get thrown down. There's the RP onto 3 here. This is a massive RP. Refresher. RP catching up the rest of the team. GG is called. There's no way you can play on after a double RP like that from Yoki. Brilliant play from the damage on him. Needs to be careful. Meepo, meanwhile, elsewhere in the mid lanes, found a kill on the Shadow Fiend. Miracle, just buying some time, taking the right clicks there. Here comes Weehard to the top lane. He wants to join this fight. He's cleared up the Shadow Fiend in the mid lane. He wants to clean up here in the top lane. There's the blink from the line, the Earth Spike. There's the right clicks. There's a triple kill for Meepo. GOG still wants to fight this. Needs to be careful. There's a Meepo that's going to turn on him any second. There's the Berserker's call. There's the boost from the rest of the Meepos. Island's getting very low. It's going to be an ultra kill. Could it be a rampage? Earth Spike onto GOG1. Reggae, is he going to steal this one? No, he's not. He's going to let Weehard take the glory. It's going to be a rampage for the Weehard Meepo. Is this the fight? There we go. Quista, they're going in. Thunder God's Wrath in return. Hookshot is going to get whiffed by bonus 7. Kalimbus now onto Misery, getting caught out. Here's the fight. There's the Dream Call. Abyssal Blade though. Echo Sam onto Misery. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. Here's the final fight. And oh no, Anti-Mage is down. Oh no, everyone on Cena's die. Let's stop the music now. There's no final fighting. There's a hookshot. They're doing it.
Buyback on Sniper.
Buyback from Sniper. BKB pop by bonus 7. Eternal Envy. He's going for the racks. BKB gets Abyssal down. He's able to blink out. No, he's down. He's got the Aegis. He's got the Aegis. He's going to come back. He's going to come back. Here we go. Now onto the Earthshaker. There's the crit. For the Enchanto and fishing to follow up. It's Eknar on a killing spree. That is Eternal Envy down. And I think
we reset again.
We reset. No. We reset, boys. Reset.
To sit by their thumbs on the throne, and that's it. And then it should be a bit easier to pick up. Dog goes in.
There's your hook shot, yes, straight in onto the fight, onto Enchant. Here we go, but they bring it down. Bro 7 so quick, he's dead. They're going for the ancient. Can they do it?
It's going down. Will they get it?
It's
so close, they won't get it. Oh no.
Black Dragon, can he do it? No, he can't. No, don't do this to me.
It might be a base trade. They're going straight for it.
Misery,
this could be it.
Misery,
is the game ending?
Oh, Misery's dead though, and he doesn't have buyback. Oh no,
oh, they went for the trade. They should have defended.
No, the Puck's going to buy back. Oh no, this could be it. This could be it. Quista is going for the Pier 4. There's Emerald Blade. Fanta, can he do it? Can he stop it? Big Daddy with his Divine Rapier. The damage is enough. Bristlebacks down. Disruptor trying to TP out. He gets away. They're trying to chase down the rest. But Bristleback,
this might be a Puck's gonna die.
He TP's back into the fight. They're gonna go for the Tier 4s. They're on the
Is that it?
There is an
it's over.
It's gonna be GG.
They got it.
They win the game. Oh my god.
So we see in that example how the caster, the person commentating the game, really helps us understand what is going on, make sense of it, situate it in a story, and communicate the kind of complexity of the game to us as novice players who don't understand just by looking. Analysts also work to provide post-game detailed insights like physical sports, and often these are current and ex-professional players providing post-game analysis, sometimes supported by statistical analysis and increasingly by data. Valve have begun releasing tools that allow players to do this kind of data analytics to themselves to try and attune and improve their play as though they were professional esport players. So what are some of the critical issues around esports? Obviously, some of the same issues around gender and representation pervade esports. A hybridization of the masculinities of physical sport with the masculinities of hardcore gaming. There's also a rapid growth of betting on esport matches, promoted by YouTube channels and professional players who are often themselves sponsored by gambling sites, betting with either in-game items, cryptocurrencies, or real money, and there are many ethical and legal concerns with young people being exposed to and participating to gambling with esports. Esports is also concerning in the sense that it's exploitative. Esports play is generally only for 16 to 23-year-olds, after which your response time drops, and many esport players get permanent injuries in their hands from playing 8 to 12 hours a day. So, to kind of wrap up, broadcasting and spectating play isn't new, even in video games. Watching video games, very popular on the internet. Esports is popular and important, and in a similar way, attends to high performance, attuned virtuosity. Esports challenges many of the assumptions that we have about play as something that is simply voluntary or not labour. But there remain several critical issues around the exploitation of the young, the expansion of gambling to esports, and the masculinities of esports culture. I'll wrap up now so you've got some time to watch some esport matches if it's not something you've not done before. And I look forward to talking to you about these ideas in the tutorials. Have a great day.